Hello, my name is Eddie Jennings and I want to welcome you back to the channel. In this video I'm going to talk about being an IT generalist and go into what it is and what I've done in my career in this particular aspect of IT. So the short, curt little answer for what an IT generalist is you do everything. Well, that's not a very useful answer, but literally it's true, especially depending on how many of you there may or may not be in an organization. A more realistic answer, and probably more useful for you if you are new to IT or are thinking about getting into IT and wondering what a generalist does, the generalists for a small business, which is where you're going to find most of the generalists, work with three primary areas. Now there are many ways to divide the task of a generalist. Just I chose these particular areas that cover most of it and also cover what I've done in my career as a generalist. The first is user support. Again, depending on the number of IT personnel that you have at your business. For example, my first position, I was it for IT. Or actually, I take that back. I had a supervisor that was developer / IT, and then I was brought on to offload the IT work from him so he could focus on being a developer. He soon moved on to bigger and better things, and then I'm there as IT. We do have a couple of devs, but their job wasn't IT. Their job was work on our company's application, and that's fine. They're devs. They're not expected to be in IT. And so being the lone IT person there, the first aspect of being a generalist that you have to work with is user support. You are the first and last line of support for users. Perhaps, depending on your application, you might have some vendor support that's available to you, but oftentimes that's not the case. And so for user support, you are both like bench tech, working with them on the hardware and applications, and you're also on the IT side of what applications do we need to consider having available for the users. What are the licensing costs associated with that? Does it make sense to use something that is a more expensive application, but it makes more sense for the business and is better for the users? Or can we use an application that might not be as expensive but can't do every possible little thing that you want the application to do? All of that falls under the generalist as far as decisions that you have to make. Another part of being a generalist is infrastructure support. And this, for me personally, is where being a generalist is the most fun, because as that generalist, especially if you're in a small shop where you are the IT person, this is where that cliche comes from, that you touch everything. Any networking equipment falls under your responsibility. Any servers or virtualization applications that run on those servers, also support as far as license compliance. In particular, if you're a Windows shop, you have to make sure that all of your hardware is properly licensed. You have to make sure you have your CALs and the like, and all that falls to the generalist. You don't have to know everything there is to know about every little aspect, but part of the challenge and for me, part of the I guess intrigue would be the right word for being a generalist, is you have to know how to find it, and you have to be smart about the resources you have available. If you are a one person shop, that may seem daunting, but there are a lot of communities out there, in particular Mangolassi.it, Spiceworks, all sorts of communities there for folks to interact with other professionals, to where you're alone in your job, but you're not completely alone as a professional as far as getting ideas and advice on how to tackle some of the challenges that you have as a generalist. And the third aspect of it, which for me rivals the infrastructure part, which, not to say that I hated supporting end users. I mean, sometimes users can get on your nerves. Other times it can be pretty rewarding helping them out with some of the issues they have. But that third aspect is planning, and this really gets into the business side of IT, which of course IT is a business discipline that works with technology. But as that generalist, especially if you're in that small business situation, some of the C-level folk are going to be coming to you as far as, all right, here's the vision for the business, this is what we want to do, what infrastructure makes sense to be able to do that. And then you, as the IT person and the generalist, you have to go through cost analysis. You have to look at risk analysis. I mean, if you're planning out infrastructure that involves servers and virtualization, you want to ask yourself, do you need a single host that's hosting all your VMs? Do you need something where you have some kind of failover mechanism? All of that planning and such falls to the generalist, and you get to touch all of it, and it's, quite frankly, a lot of fun to do. Now, the other side of this is you can be a specialist and primarily focus on just one thing. And there's nothing wrong with being a specialist. I personally enjoy being a generalist, and I think perhaps in my career I might become a specialist in something. But I think my work as a generalist allows me to touch enough things to be able to determine, hey, this is something that I want to learn more about, possibly become a specialist in, or this is something, hey, I've worked with it, I've enjoyed it, but I'm not sure if I want to spend the rest of my career doing this one thing. So if you're in a position similar to where I was a few years ago when I made the transition into IT to decide if you want to be a generalist or specialist, I don't think you would go wrong either way. But in my opinion, if you're trying to decide between the two, I would encourage you to look for some generalist roles, which will primarily be in your small business settings, so you get to touch a lot of the different things to make a little bit better educated decision for yourself as far as if it makes sense for you to become a specialist. So I'm curious, if you are a generalist, feel free to sound off in the comments and such below. What are some of your experiences? What are some of your challenges? If you have questions about being a generalist, maybe you're new into IT and want to get a little bit more information about what being a generalist entails, feel free to leave comments as well. If you enjoyed the content, I encourage you to click like and subscribe for the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends and such about it. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope it's been useful for you, and I look forward to seeing you the next time.